how you doing? Welcome back to the Marshals Museum. It has been a very, very busy day here. So I'm going to be getting a couple of things taken care of really quickly. It's kind of one of the unfortunate things of having a small staff in the first place. We only have 7 full-time equivalents here on staff at the museum. And so between that and the social distancing that we're doing as part of our response to COVID-19 and the effects of that, we are having to deal with things in a little bit different way. And so as part of that, I know at least one person has commented on the quality of some of our stuff in the past on different videos. And part of that is just due to the nature of kind of what we have in the way of equipment and what we are able to take care of in the way of personnel to make sure that this stuff comes off the way that we want it to. And so when there are things going on that are elsewhere in the building, seeing as how we don't have a good way to otherwise film some of our stuff, we like to, I'll end up taking, like right now, filming this with my phone and sending it to Facebook Live. We end up, as a result of that, dealing with some different things in order to make sure that we can try and provide a good product, or at least a decent product, and let you see a little bit of the inside of our lives and what we're dealing with here at the museum as we continue to move forward. So we have a number of different things that we are looking at right now and in the future while I'm waiting for my second screen to come up. So just in case anybody is commenting on stuff right now, I'm not able to see it because I've got the phone going on over there and I'm bringing up the second screen. One of the things I did want to mention today is starting this last Monday, we announced that we are doing a scavenger hunt, a virtual scavenger hunt here in Fort Smith. We are doing this primarily related to Marshals history here in the area, but we are also looking at different things regarding just some of the other Fort Smith landmarks, and we're looking at specifically doing it here in town. As part of that, though, so what the idea is, you go on, and in case you'll be linking the scavenger hunt link in the bottom here. The scavenger hunt, you go out, you try and figure out what the answers are. If you figure out the answers, you go ahead and you go don't write down what the answer is. You go out someplace on the internet where it's got a link or a picture or some other resource related to that particular subject or that particular answer. You put the link to that in the response. So you're doing the scavenger hunt virtually. It's not just a quiz, not just trying to find out the answers. And so as part of that scavenger hunt, you get to go out and you're doing a little bit of research on the subjects that we're talking about. The prize for this is for the people who end up doing this. Their staff will select one person as the winner of it, and that winner as a prize, normally we just give out a shirt or a hat. In this case, it's all related to the dedication of our building from last September. You're going to get one of our special dedication hats. There are only a few of these left remaining that don't belong to staff or that have not already been purchased. You'll receive a dedication t-shirt. It has the discourse, impact, and experience, and then our logo up on the back. And then we also have, I know there's some coin collectors out there. We have our, see if I can bring this up a little bit closer. I'll tell you what, we'll just go ahead and we'll throw a picture of this on the little doodly-doo later on afterwards. This is a picture of, well, it's the front side is the United States Marshals Museum with a star and a building profile. And then on the back side, 230 years justice, integrity, service, USMM dedication, 9/24/2019, Fort Smith, Arkansas. If you're a coin collector, you would love to get one of these. And you can get one of these for free if you end up being the winner as a participant in our virtual scavenger hunt. If you are somebody who really does want to get one of those coins and you were not able to be here for the dedication, I believe we still have some left in our store. Those are in the store for a $20 donation. And I believe it's $20. And if that's not correct, then I'm sure that Casey from the other room will be able to correct that in the comments. As I mentioned on any of the different announcements, either on our socials or on our news, our email blast. If you're not signed up for the email blast, very definitely head to our webpage and sign up for that. If you are signed up for the email blast, great. One of the things that I would love to find out, though, also, one of these days I'll set this up as a legit quiz for you, because we can set up quizzes on our feed. But we definitely want to make sure that the okay, good. Casey verified that $20 donation will get you a coin. Where was I heading with that? Oh, we'll get it figured out. Oh, the if you do the take part in the virtual scavenger hunt, you'll end up being able to get in on that prize. Otherwise, like I said, if you want to get the coin, going the other route. Also, we've got some other stuff in our office that we can take care of. If you can go to the I was starting to talk about a quiz. I'm just all over the place today. We're going to set up a quiz at some point, probably not this week, specifically to find out how it is that you are getting to this page. Part of it's to help figure out what we're doing with our socials. I know we get different people going to Facebook, different people going to Twitter, different people going to Instagram, and then some people only find out about what we're doing by getting the email blasts that we send out. And so we would really love to find out how folks are getting here. And so we will take a look at that and see how folks are finding out about it and how the word gets around. Because that will help us better talk to you guys, the men and women who are choosing to spend some time listening to me ramble on about what we have here. For anybody that was intrigued about the stuff that was posted online yesterday, I'll talk about the scavenger hunt again later. But for yesterday, one of the things that I was talking about, well, I don't know why you put the gloves on for that, because a little education lesson for those folks who are looking at museums and wondering why people do certain things. Typically, if I'm handling a full-on object, like a physical three-dimensional object, I will put on either the white cotton gloves or I'll put on nitrile gloves. What that does is it's not like what you're doing with coronavirus where you're keeping germs off of everything, where you're not picking up germs from somewhere else. What that does is that keeps the oil and dirt and anything else that might be in my skin from affecting what the object is. Some objects are really hard to damage with anything for your skin. Some are really easily damaged, and so we try to watch out for that. Typically, though, for archives and for any time that I'm dealing with something related to paper products, which I'm going to be showing you some paper materials here, those paper products, as long as your hands are clean, it's quite often easier and safer to use just your hands without gloves, just simply because you want to make sure that with the cotton gloves, if you're dealing with paper products and it starts to have like old documents will start to get some foxing, some small little tiny micro tears along the edge, the cotton gloves can catch on those and can damage the object worse. Also, if you're using nitrile gloves, you tend to lose a little bit of your sense of touch, so you may do something that you don't want to do. So what I'm going to do here is, this is something that I did a picture of yesterday, and it goes towards one of the things I want to talk about for the next little bit here. The international job of the Marshals Service. Quite often, we tend to focus on the map that's behind me. And so with this map, you have the 94 districts of the Marshals Service across the contiguous United States. You have a district in Alaska, the district in Hawaii, and then you also have, as part of the district in Hawaii, oversees American possessions in the Pacific. Then you also have Puerto Rico as possession of the United States. There is a district of Puerto Rico, well, territory of Puerto Rico. And then you also have the U.S. Virgin Islands. There is a marshal's office there as well. Prior to us turning over the canal zone to the nation of Panama, there was a district in the canal zone, since that was seen as an American holding. There are several offices around the world, official, fully staffed offices in Mexico. There's one in, let's see, there's, I had this right at the top of my head earlier, but the other two are both in the Caribbean Ocean, Bermuda, and on Jamaica, if I remember correctly. Jamaica and Dominican Republic. Those offices are there so we can work back and forth with people who are law enforcement in those areas. Specifically with Mexico, and it's just like with any other international relationship. If we have a fugitive, we want to make sure they get caught. If somebody else's fugitive is in our country, we don't want that criminal in our country. And so we work hand in hand with law enforcement around the world. With Mexico, there are prisoners transferred very regularly. Our marshals work with their internal security folks, as well as going back and forth, because where do people go when they commit a crime in the U.S.? Typically, they'll run to Mexico. Unless you are in the southeastern U.S., especially Florida, they tend to go down to Jamaica, they tend to go to the Dominican Republic or other countries that are island nations, just simply because it's very easy to hide, very easy to get off Florida that way. So we are looking at a lot of different things there, as well as all over the country. One of the things that the Marshals Service had since they were founded in 1789 as a responsibility is they have to transfer prisoners between districts. And this, by definition, even includes transferring prisoners inside and outside the United States. So if there is somebody from the United States who becomes a fugitive from law and goes elsewhere, the marshals will be the ones who will bring that person back for transportation. And quite often, if there is a prisoner going from the United States back to another country because they committed a crime somewhere else, those marshals will then take that prisoner. Quite often, they'll be responsible for taking them to either a disinterested third country, or they will take them back to that country where they're wanted, depending on what the situation is. Especially during the Cold War, anytime that there was a spy transfer typically between the United States and the Soviet Union, what was then the Soviet Union, they would take those prisoners, and there was a marshal, a deputy marshal, or marshals plural, that were present when they would transfer the prisoners. They would walk them across the bridge, transfer prisoners with the Soviets, and then we would get our American citizen back. And so there were a lot of things like that the marshals were all involved in. And so, and if there's any questions about any of this stuff at any time, by all means, please feel free to ask. I'm talking about a lot of different things here. And again, just to reiterate, I am not wearing any gloves right now because I'm dealing with a paper object. I don't want to hurt what's in here. And so this right here, it's on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I'm very carefully going to put down an envelope just as a buffer here. This is a collection of documents related to the return of Jason Clark and Gary Oberg, who were both wanted for burglary and theft within the jurisdiction of the government of the United States of America, delivered into the custody of you, the governor of Her Majesty's prison at Pentonville, by warrant. And so and then later on, and now I do hereby, in pursuance of said acts, order you and the said governor to deliver the body of the said Jason Clark, in this other document, Gary Oberg, into the custody of Detective Sergeant Christopher Wilson, Detective Constable Robert Crane. Those are both British law enforcement. U.S. Marshal Lee Corey, at the time he was the U.S. Marshal for the Western District of Missouri, so his office was in Kansas City. And Deputy U.S. Marshals John McHugh and George Stewart, and I command you, the said, all those names, to receive him and convey him within the jurisdiction of the said government, their place. So this was given under the hand and seal of the undersigned one of Her Majesty's Principal Secretaries of State the 4th day of August 1989. And these are Xeroxes of the documents that were handed over. And if you want to see the original, these are British court documents. And we can get some good pictures of those. I'll throw those in later here. I'll put those down at the bottom. And those are, that's ribbons and an adhesive seal. Then a ribbon, and that's a legitimate wax seal. Like if you ever watched Downton Abbey or any sort of 17, 18, early 1900s era drama where somebody dripped some wax and then put down the seal, that was exactly what it was. And this is from, let's see here. This is the extradition of Jason Clark, aka Simon Tate, and Gary Oberg under the Extradition Act upon a requisition by the government of the United States of America. And this is signed by the Assistant Undersecretary of State for the Home Department. And so this is the original documentation, or an original copy of the documentation from that particular case and the transferal of these prisoners. And here's is part of that same thing. So this was all part of that same aspect. Here's a document from the same case. Embassy of the United States of America, London, England. This is J. Taylor Blanton, Consul of the United States of America at London. Do hereby certify the annexed document is under the seal of the Department of State and the United States of America. And so here's the documents from the United States going to do that same thing. Signed, James Baker, the Secretary of State under Ronald Reagan. So I think this is some of the fun stuff that we get to deal with in the Marshals Museum. Marshal Corey is an interesting individual. He was a LA County Sheriff's Deputy for many years. He ended up moving to Missouri, or Missouri, depending on where you're from. He ended up moving to Missouri and ended up becoming appointed as the U.S. Marshal for that district. He was involved, as was his choice, in a number of cases of either rendition, returning prisoners to countries where they were wanted. Most notably, the biggest name was, if anyone here is familiar with the name John Demjanjuk, he was a prison guard at one of the German concentration camps during World War II. By the way, today, 75th anniversary of VE Day. So if you have a veteran in your life, thank them for their service. Especially if it's a veteran in World War II. There's not a whole lot of them left. Anyway, he returned John Demjanjuk to Israel for Demjanjuk's first trial in Israel back in the 80s. Demjanjuk was then, and eventually as a result of different things, was released back to the United States, and then later on went up for trial again a second time. So that's one case of the international aspect of the Marshal Service. Another one, a big document that I have right here in front of me, I will take this and hold this up. One of the things that we've had for many years is we don't so much rely on things like this anymore. In the past, there were consular courts. The United States would have a court at certain consuls in different parts of the world. Specifically, the two largest areas were in the Middle East or in the along the edge of China, along the coast, just along everywhere from about where Korea hits China, all the way down around towards Southeast Asia, down towards the direction of Vietnam and Thailand, down that area. All along that coast in major cities, there would be consular courts at the United States consuls. And each of those consular courts was headed up by a United States Marshal. And in this case, this is William Tenney, who was the United States Marshal at Chifu, China. So this particular document is William Howard Taft's signature right down here on the document. And so, I mean, that's one of the other neat things about a lot of the marshals appointments is on the marshals appointments, they would be signed by the president. There are so few of them that it's not one of those things that would be signed with an auto pen where the document would just be essentially signed by a computer, or in most, up until use of computers, by a machine. Every document of this sort is signed by the president in their own hand. So I'm going to set that right over here out of the way. That document, by the way, was signed in 1909. So, I mean, that shows you what was going on about that time frame. We are also, some of the other things that are related to that, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting my gloves back on. A couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, I guess, I showed one of my favorite things in the collection, and that is the handcuffs. This is one of two sets of handcuffs used on Manuel Noriega. For those old folks like me or older, you'll probably remember this. When the United States invaded Panama, in order to see to the capture of Manuel Noriega for being a drug runner. There were lots of things going on with that. But he ended up pulling up in the papal nuncio, and they chased him out with heavy metal music at that time. And so when he finally gave up, turned himself over to American law enforcement, he was put into the hands of the Marshals Service, and the Marshals Service transferred him up. This is actually the second set of handcuffs that were put on him that day. The first set was put on after he had taken off his military uniform, and they put him into a jumpsuit, just a prisoner's jumpsuit. And actually, it was a flight suit, if I remember right. They put him in that outfit, and they had him in a set of handcuffs, but they received word that he needed to get off the plane in his uniform. So when they did that, they couldn't unlock padlock. I mean, they couldn't unlock the handcuffs because they didn't have the right type of key. There's a number of different types of keys for different types of handcuffs. So they ended up having to use a pair of bolt cutters to cut the bracelets apart. And then they switched him out of his clothes. Then they put on this second set of handcuffs, and they delivered him to Florida. And so this set of handcuffs stayed with him. The other set of handcuffs, when they were finally removed, there was a deputy at the time. He ended up being the U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District of Arkansas over in Little Rock. He has since retired, but he has those, and eventually we're going to have both sets of handcuffs put back together again. One of the other aspects of U.S. Marshals operations internationally is related to their work as trainers for other law enforcements. A lot of people in the United States and elsewhere think of the FBI as our national police force. They aren't. The FBI is a very capable, very good investigative organization, and they have specific jobs that they do, but they are not assigned to keep order. They are not assigned to enforce the rules of the court. That comes back down to the Marshals Service by the role that they have and the responsibilities that they have. And so if another nation needs somebody to come and teach their police how to do the job a little bit better, the organization they think of for duties like that is the Marshals Service. So you will get, at any particular given time, there are deputies from the United States Marshals Service, not stationed necessarily, but assigned to training duties all over the world at any given point. And over the last 20 years, there have been a number of points when marshals have been assigned to Southwest Asia, to Iraq and Afghanistan, to help those nations try to build up their police forces. And so this is from Operation Iraqi Freedom. This is a rug that was given to the deputies who were there, the Civilian Police Assistance Training Team in Iraq. This is 2005, 2006, and there's a number of things on there, including the American flag and the Iraqi flag. But this is one of the things that came out of that relationship. And so you end up with a lot of organizations around the world becoming more professional directly as a result of their influence, directly as a result of the influence of the Marshal Service and their work around the world. And I know there's a bunch of patch collectors out there who would be very excited to see one of these. This is a patch that, and I'll put pictures, I'll try and do a better job of putting pictures down in the comments later on. This is, again, Civilian Police Assistance Training Team, Iraq. And so this is a patch that was for that team when they were operating there. It's one of a number of patches here at the Marshals Museum. I know at some point we're probably going to develop our own patch. It's not going to be an official one by any means, but we're hoping that we'll be able to use it and trade it. And I fully expect that we'll be doing patch-for-patch programs. I can't make any guarantees on that, but I know there's a lot of patch hounds out there who really like to collect I'm not even sure if patch hound is a good word, but they're the ones that end up collecting these, and they go through trying to make sure that we get a chance to help better tell the story. We've got a number of patches here, everything from different operational groups, fugitive task forces, to the FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. But that leads me back to one other area I want to talk to regarding the Marshal Service and any international operations that they've done. And that's dealing with refugees. In many cases, when refugees have come into the United States, whether in the two big cases that I can think of is for people who have come into the United States as refugees. The two largest groups that I can think of are at the end of the Vietnam War, huge number, and technically they were not refugees in this case. There is no legal term for what the status was they were under. They left Vietnam willingly, and then were transported one way or another to the island nation of Guam, which the United States military still to this day has a number of large military bases there. At that time, they moved there. Before they could get processed to move to the United States, a number of sailors who had arrived on one of the Vietnamese ships did not want to stay there. They wanted to go back home, but the American government did not let them leave. They eventually started protesting and then rioting about that time because they were on an American facility in a foreign area. The United States sent the Special Operations Group from the Marshals Service out to Guam, and they were rotating members in and out. But they ended up having to keep those detainees in a chain link fenced off area before both nations agreed on what would happen. Those sailors ended up finally being allowed to leave on their boat and go back to Vietnam. Everyone else ended up staying moving to the United States, and they were sent to 4 different military bases in the United States: California, Camp Chaffee, Fort Chaffee, here outside of Fort Smith, one in Pennsylvania, and then there was another one in the southeast, I believe. I can't remember which town it was. But those 4 bases ended up housing most of the Vietnamese who moved to the United States in the 1970s. And the one here in Camp Chaffee, it's the reason why there are so many Vietnamese here in town. In case anybody has ever lived in Fort Smith or visited Fort Smith and wondered why we have such amazing Thai food, Vietnamese food, 10% of the population of Fort Smith is from Southeast Asia. And that is, it would seem like a ridiculously high number in many parts of the country, but it's because they came here to this area and they liked this area and they stayed in this area. They didn't have, and some of them didn't have the wherewithal to move elsewhere. And so the people who came here, they came and made America their home. But while they were being here, as well as when they were in Guam, their transfer into becoming American citizens was processed by the Marshals Service. And it's like even today, if you're at a citizenship swearing in, that citizenship swearing in is officiated by the United States Marshal with a judge. So the other big event like that I think of is the introduction of Marielitos from Cuba into the United States. It was the Mariel boat lift. Fidel Castro emptied out a number of his prisons, and they let some other people who were not politically agreeable in Cuba, essentially like protesters and other people who just did not want to be there. They just said, okay, good, fine, we'll get rid of everybody. And they got rid of a lot of people they didn't want. They cleared out, again, prisons. They cleared out some mental health facilities. They cleared out as many political prisoners. There were a lot of people they got rid of at that time in order to help themselves. Those people ended up in Florida for the most part. And when they ended up in Florida, they were being held in some camps there in Florida, and then again, spread out and dispersed to different parts of the country. In this case, Fort Chaffee again became the home for some of those folks. While they were there, just one of the things that would happen is no matter where you are, people are still people. They still do the things that people will do. There were some folks there who were craftspeople. And one of the things is this is a small decorative sculpture. It looks like a little lamp or an umbrella. This was made entirely out of telephone wire. So you can see the different colors of wire that are there. If you take apart the telephone wire that's strung throughout the walls of your house, or if you ever get a chance to go across it, you'll see a lot of the same fine wire that's being used there. So they used a thicker piece to make the structure and then just wrapped it all in wire. Another piece that was made about that same time, this is all 1981 time frame. Another person made this porcelain vase, or it was clay and then glazed, turned it over to one of the deputies that was there, and it ended up becoming part of the Marshals Service collection. And so these are two of the pieces that we have here. It's just a different part of the story of the Marshals Service that a lot of people aren't familiar with and haven't seen. So I think that's just some different aspects of international operations of the Marshals. A lot of people think of Marshals just being in the Old West, or just being civil rights era, or just being here in the United States. And there's so much work that they've done elsewhere around the world. And it's just a really interesting facet of that job that all I know is if they ever need somebody to go along as a bag handler and just carry a briefcase or something, I'd be more than happy to do it. Give me some material to put on one of these. So again, before we get out today, I want to plug our virtual scavenger hunt that we're doing. The virtual scavenger hunt is running until next Monday. Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock, we're going to cut off entries. Instead of being your typical scavenger hunt where we're going to make you go out and get stuff, we're going to make you go online to get stuff. And so in order to do that, while we're doing that, because it's much more involved than our usual trivia questions that we ask, we normally, like for a quick trivia question, something that you can, in a lot of cases, if you're pretty good at Google, you can go out, you can Google something, figure out what the answer is, pop onto our page and be entered in it. And we've been giving out t-shirts and hats, things like that. This is a really good prize package. We're going to be giving you, it's all related to the dedication of the Marshals Museum building here in Fort Smith, Arkansas. We're going to have a hat related to our dedication. These are rarer than hen's teeth. I don't know if there were more than 200 made. I don't know if there were more than 100 of these made. And I think we only have about 3 or 4 of these left here in the building. We have t-shirts. That's the front side. That's the back side. And with those, we also have a commemorative coin. And I know some people out there are coin collectors, or you know coin collectors, and they'll want to get one of these. On the front side it says United States Marshals Museum. That has the building design with the star behind it. And on the back side it has 230 years Justice Integrity Service, USMM dedication 9/24/2019, so last September, Fort Smith, Arkansas. And so if you follow the link that Casey's going to throw on there, what you do is you follow the link, you answer the questions, but instead of just answering, if you know what the answer is, instead of just writing down what the answer is, you have to do one little step. Go out online someplace and find it. So if, for say, there's a question in there related to a particular building that I might or might not be sitting in, you might want to go someplace where it talks about the building or has a photograph of that building. If there's something that talks about a particular statue, you might want to go online, find some information about that statue, or take a look at it. There are a number of questions about the Fort Smith area, some of them specifically related to marshals, but there are some others that are in general related to Fort Smith itself. If we get enough interest off of this, we might be able to do this again with a broader scope, looking at a more national scope for another scavenger hunt. Just one of those things we're trying to do to mix things up and try and build up a little bit more interest in what it is that we're doing here at the Marshals Museum, and to help go towards our mission to talk about the history of the United States Marshals. And while we tend to focus on really two different ways to look at the Marshal Service, a lot of people, they come to us because they want to see the Old West. They want to see 1870s to 1890s and look at Judge Parker. There are other people who want to come to us and they want to see civil rights. They want to see the modern marshals. They want to see the things that happened at the founding of our country, the founding fathers, and what they thought the marshals should be doing. Remember that the marshals were founded in 1789, signed into law by George Washington. The very first act that was put up for a vote by the United States Senate in the very first meeting of Congress. So it's really, it was that important. It was the first thing that the Senate did. And there's this very proud of the organization that this last 230 years and what they have become and what they have done. And they continue to do their job. They put on the badge, they do the job. And even if it's not something that they may personally agree with, they understand that this is part of the rule of law. This is part of the nation of laws that we are. And as much as people might complain about other countries they might have some countries with a strong man in charge that just dictates what's going to happen and makes up their own rules as they go. We live in a country where, right or wrong, it all comes back down to what is on the books for the law. And so that ends up maintaining what the courts and what the Marshal Service themselves can do. So with that, I want to thank everybody who stopped in and took a look at the international world of the United States Marshals with me. And I am glad to see people who have stayed here and hung out. Take a look, follow the link for the virtual scavenger hunt. Take part in that and move along with, learn a little bit about Fort Smith and about the Marshals' role here. Maybe get a chance to get some good swag. And other than that, I hope everybody has a good weekend. I hope you stay safe, stay away from other people, stay healthy, and we'll continue on and try to do the best thing we can. If there's a question that you have at some point while you're watching this, I know this is going out on internet land, go ahead and put that question down in the comments. We'll be more than happy to answer it if we can. And other than that, just by all means, just feel free to contact us with any information you might have that you think we want to know about, or if you have something you want to learn about. Or one of the things we're looking at in the future is we're going to start interviewing some people at different museums that have Marshals stuff. We already have at least one or two ready to go. We just need to set up a date for those. If you know of a museum somewhere in your area, like for example, Buffalo, Wyoming, I'll probably be talking to the director of the Gatchel here in another couple, 3 weeks. If you know somebody who is at a museum that has Marshals related stuff, holler at us. We would love to hear about it, and we'll be more than happy to give them a shout and see if they'll play with us and take part in one of these broadcasts. So everything that we can do, I hope you have a good weekend and take care of yourself. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.